Is there been a better TV match in the history of professional wrestling? You've been watching professional wrestling since the later 80s, and you've watched a lot of pro wrestling television shows. What do you think? Because I was thinking Monday Night Raw, and I actually watched the show with Dave Meltzer and our buddy Jeremy, and we were trying to think of Monday Night Raw matches, and I asked Dave, what's the best Monday Night Raw match in the history? And he said it was the San Jose match with Jericho and Benoit against Triple H and Austin. And this was probably better, but obviously it's it's different eras of professional wrestling. We couldn't think of one that would beat this because basically what we got was with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega was a G1, high quality G1 match, which would have fit with Okada and Tanahashi and Shingo and Ishii on those G1 cards. So I can't come up with one that is really like, nope, this one was better than this match that we just saw tonight.
Well, San Jose was a big match. I would definitely think. I mean, they both had hot crowds, so there's a lot more emotion involved, I think, with the San Jose one and the end with the finish. So that might work out in that favor. Flair Wyndham going the whole show was awesome. Midnight Express, fantastic.
What was that? A worldwide
Midnight Fantastics on television going the whole show. And 88 was good too as well. In the 70s, there's a full hour of Dory Funk Jr. and Jack Briscoe. So, that they showed. I mean, there's a lot of good matches. It was definitely a great match, no doubt. Yeah, for sure. I thought it was really good. The finish is up for debate, but I thought it was really good. Yeah, I was. It went by really fast. That 30 minutes went by really fast. It was tremendous.
All right, shoot us a tweet if you're on Twitter at Fight Game Media. I really am interested in this question because there's so much recency bias with stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I want to see what is not what am I not thinking about. We talked about some SmackDown matches, and there was some from that SmackDown 6 era. Someone mentioned Kurt Angle and Brock, the 60-minute match, and Dave was like, that was good, but it wasn't 5 stars, and so. Well, I would like to see what everyone thought about that. So just shoot us a tweet. So, I mean, my first like is obviously that opener. I'm sure it's your first like as well. What did you think? Daniel Bryan's first super competitive match since WrestleMania when he was in the triple threat with Roman Reigns and Edge. I will say the one thing that is not talked about with Daniel Bryan is his health. Yeah. And the concussions, and this is a more physical style that he's going to have to wrestle. They take way more dangerous chances with stuff, and so that was my initial worry. Was like, okay, like he's back in like right away. There's like no practice going on here. He's got to go hard 30 minutes, and how is it going to be? And he was great. He was 100% exactly what you wanted him to be. But I still kind of worry about the physicality of some of this stuff just because of his past injuries and because I'm just a big fan of his. But he stepped right in there with Kenny Omega, and I don't know, they had a great match.
Yeah. It was a great match, and I think he hurt his arm. Looked like he hurt his right arm in that match. So we'll see how severe it was hurt. I mean, at first I thought it was a wrist, but it could have been a bicep. We'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing. I was worried about him as well. I was very concerned after that buckle bomb that went awry. Like that scared the shit out of me. That
was ridiculous.
That was on Omega, like didn't place him properly and, was careless with him at that moment. I thought someone said they maybe thought Daniel Bryan wanted that bump, but I don't think so. The way I rewound it didn't look like it was what he wanted. I don't think especially with his issues, I don't think he wants to get buckled into the side of the corner. You know what I mean? Like, I think he wants to take a clean bump in the corner for that. So I thought, Mega was pretty careless there. I thought Daniel Bryan was tremendous. He was fantastic. I did love his match too with Roman Reigns at this last match in WWE was pretty good, but this was
I forgot about that one.
But this
there
was
another.
Obviously this had more time and a hotter crowd, but yeah, this was good too, and he's the best. I mean, he's still the best, and Omega's good, but I think Bryan's just a couple steps ahead, even though he probably doesn't believe that, but I'm one to tell him, right? So, but he's so much better. It's so much nice to see these guys on this show now. We start pushing out the crud, and now we're getting quality guys. So welcome CM Punk, welcome Adam Cole, welcome Bryan Danielson.
All right.
To finish though, what do you think about the finish?
Well, yeah. Talk about it. So I wanted the draw. That's what I wanted as finish. I think the thing that some people are a little frustrated with is there was no real countdown. So the draw came at a moment when we were all thinking, how is this going to end? And then it just ended. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Because they didn't do any countdowns or anything. There was no drama with the draw. So it was a very even draw. It's not like Daniel Bryan was in peril having to kick out or Kenny Omega was in peril having to kick out. They were both on their feet, like fighting. So it was interesting. John Muse, who I think most people remember who listen to Dave, he's one of Dave's friends, and he was pretty tight with Bischoff when Bischoff was going to get the WCW before WWF bought it. He was going to, I think, book the cruiserweight division for Bischoff. His idea of the draw was to have Omega hit the one-winged angel, and then Daniel Bryan kicks out of the one-winged angel, and then the bell rings for the draw. That was his idea.
Yeah, it's tough to time that, though.
So, I was happy with the draw. I think the main idea of the draw was to get people to go, okay, what happens if there's no 30-minute time limit? What happens if there's a title match and it's a 60-minute time limit? Where could we go from there? So I think in looking at it that way, it definitely was a good finish. Now for the fans, were they necessarily happy, or maybe were they confused? I don't know. But I didn't necessarily see the way that it ended as a negative.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't take it as a negative. I was kind of just debating, because I love a good Broadway. I booked many of them, and I believe in them. And I kept thinking, like, is the first match the right match to have the Broadway? And I'm just kind of, it's a big debate for me. After it was over, I had a lot of time to think about it after. I was just thinking, and here's my thought on the Broadway. I would have gone with the finish first, with Daniel Bryan winning. Sometimes I think the obvious finish is the best finish, because it leads to a rematch, of course. But the story is, leading into this match, Daniel Bryan wanted Kenny Omega, the best bout machine Kenny Omega, right? He wanted G1 Kenny Omega, he wanted New Japan he wanted the best Kenny Omega, and this Kenny Omega is kind of like assing off, right? And he's using his goons to help him retain, and he has Don Callis, directing his career and not in a great direction, right? Daniel Bryan believes Kenny Omega is one of the greatest, knows he's one of the greatest, right? So he wants that Kenny Omega. I would have booked, and I know people will probably be upset about this, but I would have booked Don Callis getting someone involved, and somehow leading to where Daniel Bryan gets the win over Omega, right? Where Daniel Bryan could use that, as like, you lost because you weren't Kenny Omega. You could be disappointed with this, right? He could be upset with this about Kenny Omega, about not being, and this would kind of lead to Omega turning eventually. Bryan could be the catalyst where Omega turns back, right, to a babyface. And this will lead to, before the title match at the November pay-per-view, hopefully, where Kenny Omega says, Don, get the hell out of here. I don't want you. I'm going to do this on my own. And we get that best bout machine guy, right? And I think you do the draw at the pay-per-view. And the draw is now that we have the Kenny Omega of the old versus now Daniel Bryan, the one, now we have a third match. And that's where I think Daniel Bryan can win the third rubber match. So I would have done that the second match. That's all in all. But whatever they did was fine. I'm sure they have a good plan for it. But
yeah, and I think the reason why I wanted the draw is because I knew that they weren't going to do a DQ. They weren't going to do a count out. That's just not their style. If they did some sort of screw job finish, I think the fans would have been pretty upset.
Well, not with Daniel winning though. That's it. If Omega wins,
sure.
if Omega wins,
if Omega won, they would be upset. Daniel Bryan wins. I think it'd have been okay, but I still think the hardcore fan base probably would have been felt it was a little cheap, though this is TV. This is not pay-per-view. You're not paying for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thought. And, again, if people want to reach out to us about what they thought about the finish, hit up our Twitter. I am interested completely in the fan feedback, because I think it's awesome to see how differently people think about stuff, and not to say that being different is wrong. It's all sort of, there's so many ideas out there that could work, that it's just intriguing.
And I think the Broadway would have been better. I think the finish would have been better if the LaBelle lock was locked in when the bell rang. I think they might have got. Actually, he got to the ropes, huh? He did. He got to the ropes to get out of it. Yeah. Then they started slugging.
You're talking about the cattle mutilation one?
Not the cattle. I'm talking the LaBelle lock. That's what he had at the end, right? Is that what he had?
Oh, yeah.
Or did he have? No, he had the LaBelle lock at the end. Yeah. Usually, if it's so hard. I know John Muse. He said, about the one wing angel right at the end. I don't think you want Daniel Bryan to be on the losing end of that when the time limit draw happens, right? You don't want to be. You want. I think you want the babyface to be up on top at the end. This Sting with the Scorpion Deathlock on Flair, right? The famous one. I used that when I was booking a young guy. They basically took that format. I used that to have him, go over with he had a submission hold on my good buddy Oliver John. Leading into the draw. I think leading into draw is always a safer bet, because you could it's easier to time a submission than a pin, right? So it's a tough timing thing. So. I like the countdown. I can see why they did the countdown. A lot of people debate the countdown. A lot of people think, it just gives away what's going to happen. But it's a sport, right? If you're gonna do 5-minute calls for regular matches, you should do 5-minute calls for every match. And I don't even remember if they even did 5-minute calls for the other matches. At least I don't hear it unless you can hear it in the arena. But I used to hate that. That's what I used to hate. They don't all of a sudden they don't do time calls until they're going to do a draw. But yeah, so it's a lot to talk about. A lot of people don't like time limit draws. I remember I had a big debate back a long time ago. Someone was really upset, all Japan would do it's the worst screw job ever. It's a Broadway. I'm no, it's not a screw job. It just leads to the next. It's a good tool to use to keep build to a rematch. You can't do it too often.
Yeah, I thought it was. I don't know. I could see what you're saying. I think John's thought process was what Daniel Bryan gets out of that finish is that nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel. And what Omega gets out of that finish is he and Callis can sort of take it as a win and be heels in saying that, they were very clearly about to win that match. So I think it's interesting. Like I said, so many different ways to think about this stuff, and it's all really cool to think about.